Hello, and welcome back to another video. Today's assignment, only one, and that is to study for Friday's quiz. Take about 10 minutes. This video might almost be 10 minutes. And if it's not, I would suggest that you take a look at that Quizlet, play a couple games of match, and get ready for the quiz that way. We're only looking at 7 words. Normally we have 10, 12, 15, but since we're all in quarantine, we're just doing 7. And we've had a couple weeks to learn these words. Remember, they came from the Sacagawea videos and the Mark Twain videos. So if you've already watched those 4 videos, you are familiar with these words. But just to refresh your memory, let's go over all 7. The first one is shroud. Shroud. That can be used as a noun or it can be used as a verb, and I'll use it both ways. So as a noun, it is a covering to wrap around a body for burial. Now in the United States, bodies aren't often wrapped in shrouds, but certainly in ancient Egypt, you might hear of bodies being wrapped in shrouds. So nowadays, bodies mostly are buried in caskets. Not so many shrouds in the United States these days. But to use it as a verb, you would just make it an action. And you could say, you shroud a body before burial. So let's stop talking about death. Move on to something a little happier. Number 2 is entrepreneur. Entrepreneur. You may remember this from the Mark Twain video and article, that it means a person who starts their own business. They want to work for themselves. They don't want to work for another company. They would rather be their own boss. But an entrepreneur is anyone who starts their own business. You can also use it as an adjective describing a person or describing their desires. So you could say the young child has entrepreneurial aspirations when he gets older. So he has the wants and desires to be a business owner when he gets older. Or she could too. She has entrepreneurial aspirations when she gets older. A couple big words there. So number 3 is wit. But you also might hear it as witty, which is the adjective form. That's probably a little bit more popular. But in the Twain article, the word was wit, and that is a noun. And it describes a type of humor that is funny, clever, and sometimes often like a wisecrack, like able to take a dig at somebody else. And some of the people I think are the most witty these days are late night talk show hosts. If you've ever watched Stephen Colbert or Jimmy Fallon, they're very witty. They can come up with some very clever remarks quickly. And Mark Twain was known as being very witty in his writing. All right, and sorry that I might have some sun on my face, but we haven't seen the sun in a while, so I'm going to just kind of let it pour in on me. And word number 4 is speculator. Speculator, it's a person. It's a noun. A speculator is one who looks at, could be stocks, the stock market, and they look at a company that they might be able to buy for cheap, and then they will make a ton of money off it. But it's always risky. There's always a risk to it. So a speculator stands to make a lot of money, or because of that risk, they might lose a lot of money. And I want to take a look at that root word spec, meaning to look, spec. So you might have heard of spectator, one who looks. You might hear retrospective, and that retro is another Latin and Greek root meaning back. So if you ever see a retrospective, and sometimes they come at the end of the year and they look back at 2020. Maybe in December we'll have a retrospective looking back on 2020, and that's probably a year we are going to want to forget for many reasons. Another word you might hear is circumspect. Still looking, circum, but if you know anything about like circumference of a circle, what's around a circle, circumspect means looking around. So that's why it's important to learn a lot of Latin and Greek roots, because if you come to a word like circumspect, maybe you've never seen it before, but you know circum means around and spect means to look at, you might already know the word without ever having seen it before. Number 5 is tenderhearted. It's a compound word, and if you break it apart, tender, meaning kind, soft, heart, it just describes someone who has a kind, gentle heart. The tender-hearted person gave the man money. The man looked like he could use some food, some shelter. Tender-hearted. They gave them some money. The tender-hearted person helped the lost dog find his home. Number 6 is apprentice. Again, we have a person, and this is a person who works for someone who already knows the profession. Back in the day, back in Twain's day, an apprentice might have learned how to be a blacksmith, how to work with metal. These days, you might see an apprentice working for a plumber. Maybe there's a plumber who's a master at his or her trade, and an apprentice will work for them, sometimes for not a whole lot of money. They'll work for them and gain experience on how to do that job. Electricians often will take on apprentices. The last one, number 7, it's an adverb. It's quite a long word, but it can be broken down into 3 parts. Unexpectedly. Unexpectedly. Let's take that root word, expect. Expect means you know it's coming. You understand something is going to happen. Like tomorrow, I expect it to rain. So you know in the future it's going to happen. Put that in the front of a word, then it means not. So unexpectedly means you didn't know it was going to happen. So maybe your alarm clock went off unexpectedly. You didn't realize it was going to happen. Or maybe the rain started pouring unexpectedly. So it describes something you didn't realize was going to happen. My girlfriend broke up with me unexpectedly. My boyfriend broke up with me unexpectedly. And maybe a little cringy, maybe you haven't seen your boyfriend or your girlfriend for a little while. It's awkward. If you were in the classroom with me, I can make it even more awkward, more cringy, but I can't. You're at your home. Well, I hope this review helped you for the quiz. There will only be 7 questions. Every word will be used once. You know how sometimes I'll make it so you don't even use a word, or you may use the same word twice. This will be just straight 7 questions, 7 answers, multiple choice. Okay? Try to make it as easy for you as possible. If you studied, you should have no problem with these words. And as always, if you want to retake the quiz because you didn't do so well on it, that's an option as well. Just send me an email. All right, hope everybody's doing well at home. Hope this helped, and I will see you guys tomorrow.